Pioneera. Is it a look at Pioneera? Is that how we say it?
Yes, that's exactly how you say it. Well done.
Also very very apt right now. Did you want
Yeah.
to give us a little rundown about the business and what you guys do?
Yeah, sure. So, Pioneera is like the Grammarly for mental health. So, what we do is we connect to communication systems like email and chat, and we just look for the early warning signs of stress and wellness in someone's language. So, we can give them a recommendation in real time. So, really, when you're starting to get stressed and you need someone to tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, take a breath, that's pretty much what our platform does. And we do that through a bot called Indie. So Indy reaches out to you, sends you a tip, sends you a recommendation in real time. We have a dashboard, a live dashboard where you can go and have a look at your own trends and see if there's a certain time of day or day of the month, a time of, that's particularly difficult for you, so you can start to take some preventative action.
Amazing. Do you find that during the lockdown you've had more or less response?
Actually, we've had a lot more response. So we've had a lot more interest. So people reaching out to us, people asking questions. So that could be through LinkedIn, it could be through networks that we have, which has been interesting. We've had a few more online sales where we haven't known those people and they haven't known us. So it's generating some interest, which is great. And we're finding more and more people are wanting to talk about mental health in the workplace. So they're ready to look to a technology to help do that. Yeah. I think everyone, like what you were saying about lockdown, we're all starting to feel it. And we in Sydney, this is our first one, like poor Melbourne, this is like their 450th lockdown. So I think everyone's now at the point of going, I really need a bit of help. So we're very sorry it's the situation that we're in, of course. We're, however, thrilled that we can actually help people when they need it. So.
Totally. I don't know whether you would be, I assume you would be, of the opinion the same as me, that if there's one good thing that's come out of it, it's that it's sort of taken away the taboo of speaking about how you feel and saying, actually, do you know what? I do need a little bit of a life raft and, reaching out to your team and stuff. So that's one good thing that I can see.
I think so. Look, I agree. I think that people feel a little bit more comfortable to be vulnerable and talk about what they need, which I think is great. I think also what it's done, it's kind of shown us the importance of connection. So by the fact that we can't connect, we realize we need to connect. So, and human beings, we're social creatures. We're not designed to live on our own. We're not designed to be isolated. So I think the fact that, when we originally started building the technology, a big part of it was when people are struggling, they're really alone. They feel alone. They feel isolated. They feel like there's something wrong with them. And that can lead you down a dark path. So at least in a technology, even if it's a technology, it helps people feel like they're not so alone. And that's a really, really important part of human nature that we're trying to help support people with.
100%. I think, you talk about the stress side with the team, but identifying that on a human level obviously is kind of one step further in terms of the mental impact of a team. So would you have any advice or suggestions to people who do have a team underneath them for actually identifying when somebody's struggling and how you might reach out to them?
Yeah, totally. Of course, firstly, I'd say buy Pioneera because we could do that for you. I think that absolutely, if you're leading a team of people, you've got a double stress. You've got your own stress that you're trying to manage, but then again, you sort of feel responsible for keeping an eye on those people. So what I advise people to do now is start to look for some of the signs, non-verbal as well as verbal. So look for when people are not putting their camera on in meetings. Look for when people just go very silent. So they either go silent in a meeting or they go silent on communications, on chat or on email. Look for people not meeting deadlines for no apparent reason that they would have been able to do before. Look for people starting to not necessarily resist, but maybe start asking a lot more questions because they start to feel anxious about something. That could be really simple. It could be, I want to have a meeting to discuss this, and they're asking a lot of questions, and you might kind of pick up, well, that's unusual. That starts to indicate a level of anxiety is starting to build. I think that's really important. The other thing that we do a lot as a team is that where I start to see someone struggling a little bit, I get ahead of it and say, do you know what? I think you should take a bit of a break. So if someone's working really late or someone's on a check-in and they're really quiet, we have a daily check-in, by the way. We get on the phone every morning at 9:45 on the screen so I can like see everyone, and we'd have a funny word and we'd have it a bit of fun, but sometimes people are very quiet. So I'll message them afterwards and say, hey, you doing okay? How about you take the afternoon off, take a couple of hours? So sometimes people just need to decompress away from that work environment.
Just being ultra aware, it's so difficult, as you say, when you're thinking of yourself as well and you have other people to look after as well. Particularly, you know, you mentioned you have a daughter, so you have a family too that you it's not even just you.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. But there's a lot of fear around it. So one thing that we built the bot so the bot could help individuals. So the individual is empowered. So you would see your own data, you get your own tips, you'd be able to do something about it. But that's private to you. So no one else can see that. Your manager can't see it, because people were very worried that if their manager saw that they were stressed, that they might be targeted. So maybe they wouldn't get a great job or they wouldn't get that great project that was coming up. The manager would think that they were less capable. So that data is very only accessible by the individual for that reason. What we try to give the manager is some trends of what's happening at the team level, so the manager has some insight. So one of my customers yesterday, I had a conversation with them. Monday at 10 a.m, high stress because it's their team meeting, and we know team meetings cause stress. Yeah. So we could have the conversation to say, okay, what might you do as a leader? So I think it's important that leaders remember that there still is a lot of fear from their employees. They're concerned about how that's going to be received and what that means for means for them in the long term. So being kind, being considerate, being compassionate with your people, I think right now is really important.
Totally agree. What about on the flip side? We talk about we talk about staff, we talk about leaders, we talk about your team. What about being considerate to yourself? Do you have any tips for taking care of your own well-being at home?
It's such a good one, because I have been traditionally pretty terrible at this. I'm getting better, but I have my moments. So what I now advise people is that I encourage people to treat themselves like they would their best friend. So we are so hard on ourselves. And I would say to people, would you talk to your friend like that? And they're like, no. Would you expect that of your friend? No. I said, well, why do you expect it of yourself? And if you can literally just flip it, like I literally say to people, pretend like, who's your best friend? And they say, oh, my best friend's Joe. So pretend you're Joe and Joe is you. What would you say to Joe? And they're like, and I'm like, well, how can you say that to yourself? And that visualization has been really powerful for people, just to see that they're so tough on themselves, but maybe start to then speak to themselves a little bit more kindly, a little bit more positively. So that would be my tip.
It's tough. We're all our own worst critic, aren't we? I think we're all so guilty.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Well, that was an awesome just 5-minute chat. If you have anything else that you want to add, we'd love to hear.
The other thing I would say is managing time. We spend a lot of time managing our time, and I think we should be thinking about managing our energy. But one tip, as I said to you in our emails, is that I try to block time in my diary to do things. So I will block time in my diary to exercise, although I'm not doing it now. Or, I have
ones, I think, for mental health too. I'm also not it right now.
Yeah. So if you don't actually schedule it, it's unlikely to happen. So schedule time to exercise, schedule time just to sit in the garden and sit in the sun, schedule time to, hang out with your kids. So, but I think in business, what gets measured gets done. So if you can schedule it, then you're much more likely to do it, would be my kind of overall business tip. And of course, by Pioneera, because we'll help you do that. So.
Well, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today. It was
pleasure.
Lovely to speak with you, and you've got some really good insights there.
Thanks.
For Are You Okay Day. I hope all of your team are okay, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. My pleasure. And I hope you're okay, and I hope all of Talenza's okay too.